This video has been automatically generated from an article written by Martin Freiland. That's me, on martinfreiland.com. Everything that has been predicted here for years seems to be unfolding rapidly now. The breakup of NATO is closer than ever with Trump's Greenland claim, and the civil war in the U.S. is being increasingly exaggerated. The media does not yet call it a civil war, but Trump's ICE, a kind of Gestapo hunting illegal immigrants, now provides the alibi for the left to push back. The tension is being raised to great heights. Trump must present himself in the role of a bully towards both countries and the established left-wing politics, because this is necessary for the desired tension that belongs to that part of the script in which the struggle between the so-called deep state and Team Trump must escalate. Those who already know the script know that an assassination attempt on Trump must follow, and then a storyline of alien invasion to mask the upcoming plasma events. How Trump presents it is quite believable, and if you study the also consciously created power dynamics between China and the U.S., which I recently tried to represent as accurately as possible on an interactive map, it seems that Trump's path of rapid interventions is the only correct counterbalance to the economic imbalance. China is miles ahead in terms of energy production, raw material processing, and in many other areas. But who put China in that position? Exactly. It was the U.S. itself. And here we see the role of the real deep state. That real deep state creates the tension itself. In this case, Trump must make an economic catch-up because China has been made so big that it is beginning to pose a threat to American hegemony, and that provides the perfect alibi for Trump's interventions. Apparent interventions, at least, because it is all deception and soap opera. Everything is based on storylines and visual productions, but you undoubtedly already knew that. Trump had to take over Venezuela, apparently, and considering the power imbalance, because that way he gained control over the oil market and thus over oil prices. And he deprived China of influence and billions of investments in Venezuela. Trump needs more raw materials, and there are plenty in the ground in South American countries, Canada, and Greenland. Ostensibly, that should seem to be the driving force behind his bully agenda, where he also wants to incorporate countries like Canada and Greenland. Ostensibly, it is about restoring that self-created economic imbalance. How it is sold is that it is necessary to prevent Russia from controlling the sea near Greenland and to prevent China from becoming the boss in the U.S. backyard. In reality, it is about dividing the world into a few major power blocks and ultimately further centralizing power with Jerusalem as the main seat. How that now almost unimaginable miraculous turn and power shift towards Jerusalem will be realized may be difficult to imagine now. But it has everything to do with religion and with the script that can be read from the religious script books. What is happening in the meantime is the dismantling of old power structures, which were built in the first place with that long-term goal in mind. Chaos is now being created for that purpose, in order to create order from that chaos. The old financial system is also being dismantled, and the dollar will make way for a system that is less susceptible to seizures by a warlike party. Tokenization will have to ensure that, in the future, Venezuelan gold reserves lying in London or Russian oil tankers cannot simply be seized. Everything unfolding on the world stage meets the problem, reaction, solution rule. It is indeed a play on a global scale. The so-called satanic pedophile deep state still needs to be exposed. This will be done by the alternative media. At the same time, the tension between East and West is being stirred up. Tensions are being raised to great heights on multiple fronts. Without tension, there is no power. And a power surge is needed for the rollout of the script. The end goal is for everyone worldwide to live under a technocratic and tokenized totalitarian power with social credit scores and full-time monitoring. However, It will be presented as the solution, the redeeming helping hand that is offered after everything has first been plunged into chaos. Europe will be plunged into chaos, and the U.S. will be plunged into chaos. Everything presented by the media as spontaneous processes and individual incidental flashpoints is actually coordinated and part of the master script. So what can we expect in the coming time? Trump will take over more countries. Meanwhile, the so-called deep state will become more and more active. Europe will be plunged into chaos, the U.S. into civil war. The predicted breakup of NATO since 2019, the Turkish takeover of Europe. It will all happen. But first, chaos. The chaos needed to introduce the new order accelerated. It is all going to happen this year, and in that we can recognize that the much-discussed Phoenix moment is getting closer. That moment after which Trump will rise from the hoaxed dead as a messiah, as described in the book Messiah Trump. Okay, that was it again. Share and like this video, and see you next time.